Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Monday night, the 25th of October, 2021. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. And the countdown is on, folks. 2 months till Christmas. You can get your home decorated, or maybe you're a professional decorator and you're already decorating the people's homes and you need stuff. Or maybe you want to do this as a business. You've got Santa, you've got trees, you've got, of course, the elf, as you can't do without the elf. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. The telephone number is 631-957-5106, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. And then just head on over to Omni True Value Hardware, less than a mile away at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. They're 631-756-1125. The phone number there. They've got tons of salt, and they have the best prices that you'll find anywhere in the tri-state area of New York City and beyond. Pelleto, Mag, Ice, Pellets, and Flakes, and anything else you need to get you through this upcoming winter season. 631-756-1125, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So I think if you want to pull one piece of good news out of all of this is that I guess we should be happy it wasn't a week ago today that we were looking ahead to this, because the full moon, and that would have added maybe some serious coastal flooding to the equation with the Hunter's moon. But fortunately, Joe, we are going into a low tide cycle, so that should, I think, keep coastal flooding down for those that are concerned about that. And otherwise, it looks like rain is the big deal again with this.
It looks like, Joe, I posted on my Facebook page earlier today that for the tri-state metropolitan area as a whole, let's say within a 75-mile radius of Central Park or Midtown Manhattan, generally anywhere from 2 to as much as 5 inches of rain may fall before this is all over, said and done, around daybreak on Wednesday. And it looks like, and the reason why I'm going for such a wide spread, 2 to 5, is that there are some uncertainties. Some of this moisture will be of a tropical nature, in the sense that we may see some convection tonight. And if you get hold of a heavy-duty thunderstorm or a heavy shower that passes through your neck of the woods, you could put down a very hefty amount in a relatively short interval of time. But rain, gusty winds, that'll be the story for not just tomorrow, but on Wednesday, as this system, which looks like it's going to describe some kind of a little bit of a loop-de-loop out over the ocean off to our east, begins to pull away. We'll see those winds go from south-southeasterly to northeasterly to northerly, and then eventually north-northwesterly. Those north-northwesterlies will be doing a number on us here on tomorrow night into Wednesday. So lots to talk about, and a very active weather pattern in stark contrast to what has been really for much of this month rather dull and rather quiet conditions.
Yeah, this last week is making up for the first 3. We're on the same page with the rainfall. You said 2 to 5. So somebody asked me this question earlier in a conversation, and I said 2 to 4 / 3 to 5, depending on where you are. So we're pretty much, I think we're pretty much on the same page with that. And yeah, I agree with you with respect to the fact that there's going to be some convection in the mix, especially during tonight, that could tilt the numbers higher, a little higher in some spots, a little lower than others. I think you'll agree with me from the standpoint of wind, because I don't want to hear it after the end of after this is over with. Although that's, maybe I'm speaking too soon. But as far as wind is concerned, we were talking about the fact that the tightest gradient is over southeastern New England and maybe touching eastern Long Island, eastern Connecticut, and Rhode Island. So those folks there will probably see some hefty wind gusts, particularly in southeastern New England. But the further west you go, along the immediate coast, could there be some gusts to gale force? Sure. Do I think the winds are going to be excessive enough to cause a problem? I really don't think so, and I don't think we're going to see any kind of big gusts inland.
I think so too. I think that will be the story. Gusty winds, 30, 40 miles per hour near the coast. Yeah, could see a couple of gusts, maybe to above 50. But again, as you go inland, that should pretty well diminish. And I got to tell you something, Joe. 80 to 90% of my trees in my on my property and in my neighborhood are still covered with leaf. I mean, we still have trees mostly in leaf now as we're
Mm-hmm.
heading toward the end of October. Hardly any of them have changed any type of significant or vivid color. So with these winds, even though they're not going to be damaging winds, I'm thinking that we're going to see quite a few of those leaves on the ground over the next 24 to 48 hours. If this doesn't drop them, nothing will. If we don't have much leaf drop after this, then I'm going to start thinking that maybe those leaves were epoxied onto the trees, because it's really amazing. I've been up here in Putnam Valley for about 20 years, and I cannot remember this late in the season still seeing the trees so thickly covered with leaves. I'm trying to think back to 2011 when we had our 14-inch snowfall. That's right. For those of you who are just new to the site here, 2011 we had 14 inches of snow here in Putnam Valley, heavy wet snow a few days before Halloween. But with that storm, we had, I'd say, about 50 or 60% leaf coverage, which was still enough to cause a lot of damage. These trees are still, well into leaf, and I don't know what's gonna be the story, but in any case, those winds are gonna do something, I think, to those leaves over the next 48 hours.
Certainly for you, I just was looking down at the lower corner of my computer, looking to remind me that the date is the 25th of October. I mean, you should have had you should have had your peak at least a week, if not uh, within the last 2 weeks ago. It is remarkable. And by the way, it's up and down the eastern seaboard. I've been talking to people. I mean, there are pockets where the leaf viewing is really nice in the southern Appalachians when you get into North Carolina, but there are a lot of stretches all the way down the eastern seaboard where it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, I have leaves. A lot of leaves are down. The whole top canopy is gone, but not that much color. And we're supposed to go into peak this coming weekend and into early next week. So we'll see where it goes. Let's jump to the satellite view, because you could see this really taking shape now with what's happening. The two distinct systems, and here's the energy that is moving across the lower lakes and the upper Ohio Valley. It's moving eastward, and that's triggering off some rather strong convection. We'll show you on the radar in a moment, but this was all the stuff, if you remember yesterday, we're down in the Gulf of Mexico, and that was the beginnings of a weak low that formed off the Georgia coast overnight. Look at it now. I mean, the clouds offshore just blowing up here. And they do look, Joe, if you look at the satellite, I mean, they look like two distinct systems and two separate systems at this point. But the energy from the one in the Ohio Valley is going to pretty much energize the coastal low, which will completely take over. And we're going to be going through this whole process overnight and through tomorrow of having that primary disappear and the secondary take over and intensify.
Correct. And the benchmark of any intensifying storm is convection and is thunderstorm activity. And we're seeing, Joe, that for the most part, right now, the the area of convection seems to stretch from southeastern Pennsylvania down through Maryland and into northern and central and southern Virginia and northern sections of North Carolina. In fact, down there across Virginia, I believe there's a severe thunderstorm watch that has been posted. That's also the area where Storm Prediction Center has been targeting a slight risk of severe weather, although the marginal risk does edge up just into the tri-state area. And in fact, that little band that you see on radar of precipitation might very well be the warm front that has been flirting with our area for much of the day today.
Right. And by the way, I'm going to switch to the radar in a second, but I want to just point out the system for late this week. We looked at it yesterday. That really impressive storm setting records, pressure records up in that part of the Pacific. Down to a 943 millibar, which is almost a Category 4 hurricane in terms of the pressure equivalency. The wind field is obviously non-tropical, but that energy is moving inland, and this is going to take a little bit more of a southern route as it goes across, and this will be our player for the end of the week. So before it's all said and done, it's going to be several to many inches of rain that will have accumulated during these next 5 days. Now, here's the latest radar, as Joe alluded to, and a couple of things going on. There's a few severe thunderstorm. There were three severe thunderstorm warnings. One in southeastern PA, the other one in northern Delaware, and one in northeastern Maryland. But that has now been reduced to one. And further south, down in south central Virginia and into central North Carolina, we have several severe thunderstorm and two tornado warnings that popped up and disappeared in the last hour. That you watch this. It's lifting northeastward. So it's arcing up northeastward, and SPC's marginal risk goes all night. So because we didn't have anything happen during the day today, but this goes all night, and that marginal risk is probably justified for the overnight period with all the energy that we're dealing with. And by the way, there's another squall line of showers and possible thunderstorms in southeast Ohio, moving into West Virginia and into eastern Kentucky, and that's basically with the low center and the cold front that, or what's left of it, that is moving east. And then we have convection that's developed, Joe, from just near Nantucket and Hyannis and out in the ocean, that's moving northeast, and that's with the coastal low. So there's a ton of energy in here, and the atmosphere. The weather we had today, where a lot of areas broke out into sunshine and stayed sunny for a good part of the day, with dew points climbing up into the 60s, really just primed up the atmosphere for what's going to be happening overnight and through the first part of tomorrow.
Right, and the Storm Prediction Center has a broad area of 40% probability of thunderstorms, which covers much of the tri-state area, I might add, all the way down across much of New Jersey, Long Island, up into portions of southwestern New England. 40% chance of thunderstorm activity from 8 o'clock until midnight, and then it drops back down. That area drops just to our south in the after midnight hours. But as far as convection is concerned, the main batch may be ahead of us in the coming hours. So if you're an early sleeper, if you go to bed like before midnight, you may be rudely awakened by some peals of thunder, some claps of thunder, some flashes of lightning in the coming hours. And again, as I mentioned earlier, 2 to 5 inches of rain. And as I said, a lot of that is going to be based on how much convection we see during the overnight hours tonight, because as we are well aware, any one significant cell of thundery weather could dump a whole heck of a lot of rain in a very short interval of time. And that on top of what's coming our way for tomorrow, Joe. Tomorrow, I think the heavy rains are going to be with us from about 7 or 8 in the morning until early tomorrow afternoon. So whatever we get during that time frame, in addition to the convection tonight, that will tell the story as to just how much a lot of folks eventually see in their final rain totals. But even then, the rain will not completely peter out probably until early in the day on Wednesday. So we've got, again, a lot of wetness in front of us.
By the way, I've got SPC's map up. Just I want to acknowledge, welcome to everybody that's watching the show tonight. I'm sure there are some of you that are new and here to the show for the first time. Welcome. As a reminder, you could always, if you missed the show, you could always either rewatch it on YouTube or you could watch it. You could listen to it as a podcast on any of the podcast sites, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it, we're there. And it's under Joe and Joe Weather Show. Also, Robert Russo hitting a super chat tonight. Thank you, Robert. Wanted to acknowledge that earlier, but I didn't get a chance when I saw it go up. But thank you so much for hitting the tip jar. It is appreciated. SBC, by the way, just issued a mesoscale discussion just to highlight southern New Jersey, the southern half of, well, actually southern and central New Jersey, almost up to about Route 78, and much of southeast and south central Pennsylvania down into Maryland and Delaware. They're saying here severe thunderstorm watch is unlikely, okay? But they do acknowledge that a couple of damaging gusts are possible with stronger thunderstorms over the next few hours. A WW, severe thunderstorm watch issuance is not expected. And in fact, they only have a 20% chance of them putting up a watch box. But, you know, we're at a point here where the watch box is almost meaningless in that, you know, you just have to look at the radar and see that there are some very active cells in here, and they probably couldn't put the watch box up fast enough anyway. So we're seeing warnings going. We're seeing those warnings going up in the area where the watch isn't up. So that's telling you that these thunderstorms are, you know, they're outperforming to a certain extent and continuing to move up to the northeast. Also, just want to mention that energy in the west again. You got a lot of precip from Southern California, even a couple of a severe thunderstorm and a tornado warning. I don't know where that exactly is in California, but it looks like it's whatever the freeway that goes from Los Angeles to San Francisco. The tornado warning is like right along the freeway there, and you've got precip running up into Utah and into Idaho. It's rain at the low levels and snow at the high levels, and even into Montana, and more heavy rain coming into Washington State. So all that western energy, again, to emphasize, that will be with storm number 2, which, by the way, will be a little bit different in terms of how it plays out versus what is happening today. WPC's rainfall, this is for the next 7 days, and they've got. I just updated the map, so much of this area here from eastern PA, New Jersey, Long Island, southeastern New York, even up the Hudson Valley to about almost, but not just about to Albany, I guess, to I-90 anyway. And then, of course, all of southern, southeastern New England on up into southern Maine, anywhere from a total rainfalls of several to 6 inches. And again, that's the 7-day rainfall. So you'll probably get more rain, more of that for tomorrow, to late with what's going on tonight, and for tomorrow into tomorrow night. And then the second one on Friday will probably produce a little bit less, but still something substantial. And you can see that back west of the Mississippi River, it's fairly wet, anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches, some places up to as much as 2. Winding down a little bit in the northwest over the next 7 days, but still some big rain amounts up in Washington State, at least in the western half, and up in the northern Rockies, down into Utah and the Wasatch, and over into the central Rockies as well. But that's a lot of water that we're going to have to absorb here. And, you know, a few people were asking me this question too. And whenever we get one of those questions where I'm going to bring us up full screen for a moment. Whenever we get one of those questions where you're comparing it to something that just happened that really made a mark, and I'm referring to the rains of, obviously, the rains of Hurricane Ida. You know, and they're saying, is it, you know, people are asking me, my basement's going to flood again? And, you know, my response to that is, you know, Ida obviously was an extreme event. This one is maybe, you know, a notch or so underneath it, but still rather formidable. And this is one of those that I just basically said, look, take the precaution ahead of time. Better to be safe. This is, you know, after what just happened, better to be safe than sorry. And, you know, it was running through my mind, Joe, you know, a lot of people do not get flood insurance because they think their homeowner's insurance covers them for stuff like this, and it doesn't. You need separate flood insurance for it. And what's an even more incredible statistic is that the government's got these, they draw these flood zones. So flood zones don't magically end on some street. Even though it's marked on a map, they got to cut it off someplace. The people that surround those flood zones that are technically not in the flood zone could buy the flood insurance pretty cheap. But yet 96% of people that live on the border of a flood zone do not buy flood insurance. 96%, that's a big number. Okay, they could buy cheap flood insurance to cover them in instances like this. So I mean, just remember, obviously, maybe Ida caused some people to finally go ahead and get flood insurance, but that's something to always remember. Your homeowners doesn't cover stuff like this. So bottom line is precautionary. I think it's going to be a notch or two below Ida, but still formidable, and certainly something that you should, take some precautions with.
If memory serves me, with Ida, I think with that particular system, I should have looked back on this, but I think that for Ida, I had put out a warning where the Moss, not the Moss, the FOOS data
Yes, I
from the
remember.
NAM was putting out something ridiculous, like 5 or 6 inches of rain within like only a 3 or 4 hour time frame.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
it's seven and 8 inch totals. I remember that.
Right. Now this is going to, as you just mentioned, will put out probably a very formidable, I don't know which way you want to pronounce it, amount of rainfall. It's just that it looks like it's going to be spread out over a longer interval of time. So in other words, it's not going to come at you all at once this time, like with Ida. It will come at you, but it's going to come at you incrementally over a much longer period of time. Instead of 3 or 4 hours, maybe spread that over 12 to 18 hours. And in any case, it's still going to be a lot of rain when it's all over, said and done, but it's just not going to come at you, with such a force. The rate of fall of the rain, the intensity, is not probably going to match the incredible amounts of what we saw with Ida. Remember, Ida broke a record in Central Park, something like 2 inches of rain in 1 hour,
right?
Something like that, and that broke a record that was set just the previous week.
Right.
I don't think we're going to be looking at rains of that magnitude, but again, they will be significant rains. And again, you are absolutely right in the fact that this is coming closer to a last quarter moon when we have the so-called neap or neutral tides, as opposed to a new or full moon where we have astronomically higher than normal tides. That'll certainly save the day for a lot of folks who live right along immediate coastal areas, such as Mamaroneck, on the sound shore of Westchester, and along the south shore of Long Island. So we're not diminishing this.
Right.
This is going to be a very significant event. It's just simply, I don't think, going to match up to what we just saw with Ida.
Right. And with Ida, as we all can remember, we had a identifiable feature that stayed strong and got energized. If you recall, there was a short wave that came down through the Great Lakes and gave it an extra added punch to it when it moved into the northern mid-Atlantic states and on up into southern New England. That took all that tropical juice and just basically squeezed every last drop of moisture out. The situation here is different. Yeah, we have tropical moisture, but this is also a non-tropical system. So it doesn't have it doesn't have the richness of Ida. Remember, Ida was a Cat 4 when it made landfall. But if we didn't have Hurricane Ida, we would be treating this with importance, and we are treating it with importance as we certainly should be. But it'll be interesting to see how the infrastructure handles all of this coming after the rains of 2 months ago. What the damage that caused was enough of that repair to handle this rain. I don't know. We'll just have to wait to find out.
Right. It's all just going to be a matter of how quickly all the moisture, how quickly the rain or the water, if you will, comes at us right now it does not look like it's going to be on the same magnitude as Ida. We may match in some places. May get, like, for example, I up here in Putnam Valley with Ida, I got 4.6 inches of rain. Would not be surprising if I match that with this impending system. The difference is it's all not going to come all at once. It'll be spread out over a longer interval of time.
All right, I've got the NAM up. This was the NAM from late this afternoon, and I have it set for 8 o'clock, and it's 4 minutes before 8 o'clock. So why don't you can see how the NAM shows the radar, particularly active down in Virginia and into northern North Carolina, and just not so much into southern Pennsylvania. Now I'll go back to the actual radar view, and I'll give it a quick refresh just to bring us up to date on the frames, so that we're only about 6 minutes behind. It's 7:57 p.m., by the way, Eastern time. So obviously the radar is outperforming what the NAM even has across southern Pennsylvania into southern New Jersey. The NAM really didn't have anything there, as I just showed you. It caught the line in Virginia pretty well down into North Carolina, but not so much back in the part of southern Pennsylvania. It also did catch, I pointed out, that convection that's offshore. And if you watch the NAM here, that convection actually amplifies in the next couple of hours, so that by 11 o'clock, it could be getting into some heavy rain on Long Island, if that's correct. It lifts up into southern New England. And then, of course, all of what you see to the south and southwest pivots around as the coastal low develops. Now, I want to make this point. The actual storm itself is pretty far out. We're getting what we're going to be getting tonight into tomorrow morning due to the upper low to the north that's coming in from the west, that is causing all this convection to develop on the northwest side of the circulation of the coastal low. So it looks a little weird, because normally if we just had that surface low, Joe, out east of North Carolina, it would just, it would go out, and yeah, we'd probably have to worry about it pivoting back. But it's the upper low, the energy in the Midwest that's going to be triggering this heavy rain that we're going to see late, during the overnight, and then for tomorrow. And then you start to see the pivot as the coastal low completely takes over. And as you said, it's going to do a counterclockwise loop. And what's kind of funny here, Jay, caught my eye, this stuff that's coming up from the south gets up to New York City and over Long Island, and then it stops moving north and then starts dropping back southwestward, because the storm itself is doing this large counterclockwise loop back into southeastern New England. And that's where your gradient is. This is where your strongest winds are going to be. Southeastern New England to about eastern Long Island. The gradient along the immediate coast, as far as the wind is concerned, it's not that impressive. I mean, it'll get gusty, as we said earlier, and we certainly probably have gusts gale force or higher. But the 50 mile an hour plus winds or more are going to be as you go east, easternmost Long Island, southeastern New England, on up to Boston. You folks are going to get hit pretty hard. And then after that, this is, by the way, Wednesday morning. It's still nearby. And I guess my question is, how much clearing are we going to be able to even have on Wednesday? Is the low-level moisture going to be thin out enough that we could, brighten up at least a little bit later in the day? I don't know. That's a tough call. And then, of course, you already see the next one getting ready to our southwest that comes in for Friday. But this is going to be it's going to be an interesting overnight and an interesting day tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, I found what I had posted. This was just before Ida's arrival, August 31st, and I pointed out that in the month of September, the normal amount of rainfall of LaGuardia was 3.73 inches. The 12Z run of the NAM, Foose, projected 3.07 inches to fall between 8 p.m. on Wednesday evening and 2 a.m. on Thursday morning. In other words, 82% of the normal complement of September rainfall forecast to fall in just 6 hours. Now, we're not looking at anything like that with this impending system. I think per 6 hour intervals, we were seeing 1 and 1.5 inch, still very significant amounts, but nothing like over 3 inches in 6 hours
Right.
with Ida. That was the key with Ida. The key with Ida was the intensity, the tremendous amount of rain falling in a very short, and I do want to stress, very short interval of time, 6 hours. We're going to see a significant, if not substantial, amount of rain here between now and Wednesday morning. It just ain't coming all in 6 or 8 hours. It's going to be, again, spread over a time frame from late tonight into tomorrow night, early Wednesday morning. And that's the big difference.
And by the way, for the snow lovers, it's an apples and oranges comparison to say that if this were snow, we'd get 4 feet or 5 feet or whatever it is, because in a snow situation, you would never see 4 inches or 5 inches of melted liquid. In the biggest storms that we've seen, you see 2.5, maybe, if it's all wet snow. But it's two different things. It's an apples and oranges comparison. The warm side of the storm always holds a ton of moisture, much more than it does on the cold side. So that's the short answer, Tom Contino, just to make that clear. By the way, 85 likes. Thank you for those of you who hit the like button. Be great if you could take us over 100. Now, I got the GFS, which I thought was pretty, in its own right, also very interesting, in that it really went nuts with precip here, Joe. It's, same idea as the NAM. Takes the low, the coast.
This is
the 18Z. I mean, it's very similar to the 12. Right. It's the same thing. I mean, it takes the low out and then does that counterclockwise loop, maybe a little bit further south than what the NAM does, and it's further east than what the European did. The European's got the low tucked back pretty far to the left, and I don't know. I think that might be a little bit much, but it does generate a large amount of rain here. This is at 2 a.m. and then at 8 a.m. it's pouring rain in northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania to Long Island, and then you start to see that pivot. It stops moving northward and starts dropping southward and southwestward, and we get the backside rain Tuesday night, and then by Wednesday morning it's starting to pull away, but still raining over eastern Long Island and southeastern New England. A 978 low, and again here too, the gradient, the tightest gradient, southeastern New England to about eastern Long Island. The gradient is more relaxed as you go further to the west, and then that pulls away to the east. And if you want to just take a look, I'm going to go back to the NAM again just to bring up the 500, to bring up the upper air, to show you how the mechanics are working upstairs. And hang on, here we go. So you see the low, you see the upper low here. Sitting, this is this afternoon, over northern Michigan with a deep north-south trough that runs down into Kentucky and Tennessee. That's all that energy moving across the upper Ohio Valley. And then just off the North Carolina coast, you see these ripples there. That's the coastal low, the representation of the upper feature of the coastal low. And then the upper trough just swings negative, northwest-southeast tilt. That's a very sharp, negatively tilted trough here from a closed upper low in southern Lake Huron tomorrow morning. And that upper low, because remember, we've got a blocking high up in eastern Canada, it can't lift up into Canada. Otherwise, we would just get this round of rain tonight into tomorrow morning and be done with it. It'll just move, everything would move away to the northeast. The upper low and all that energy is being forced southeast because we've got this blocking high in eastern Canada. You can't see it on this view because it's just outside the view of the map, and we really can't see up in Canada there. But if we could, you'd see an upper high there, and it goes underneath the upper high. The upper low moves down into Chesapeake Bay and Maryland and Delaware, and then of course you see a second upper low that represents the coastal storm that's southeast of Cape Cod, and it's kind of rotated like a dumbbell. It's just sort of dumbbelling around the other upper low, which ultimately captures it, and then it goes on its merry way out to the east. And then you start to see the next one. Here's the next one. This is on Thursday morning. You've got the next system. The upper low is all the way down in Arkansas and moves eastward into central Tennessee, which is far out as the NAM goes, which is early Friday morning. And if we jump over to the GFS, we can take it away from there. And just give it a moment to load up. There it is. And the GFS is even more closed off and more vigorous. That's a very close to, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 contours closed in southern Tennessee.
Right.
My 850 temperature, Joe, drops below -5. Believe it or not. I went and checked it.
Will you be getting any? Boy, I
No,
can't. I can hardly talk anymore.
yeah, no, not happening snow-wise. A month from now, maybe, but not this time around. But you can see the Friday system, because the block to the north is now sliding to the east uh, and moving away. That is going to start to lift up more northeastward, so it doesn't get shoved underneath the way the lead system does. So this is not going to turn out. The second one's going to play out differently than what we're seeing tonight. And let me bring up the rainfall, the total rainfall, and we'll give the map a moment here. So the 18Z map, like the 12Z, Joe, has a dark purple over Long Island to about New York City. That's 5 inches. And every bit of 3 to 4, 3 to 5 across New Jersey, maybe on the low end of 3 in northeastern Pennsylvania, on up into the Catskills, the lower Hudson Valley, 3, 3.5, 4. I mean, it's all sort of bullseyed right there in right around eastern PA to southern New England, and then add the well, it's hard to tell with these colors because they've got all these, they got 20 shades of purple here, and you're supposed to try to figure out how much the total rainfall is. But you get the idea. There'll probably be another, inch or two from the system at the end of the week. But certainly a formidable amount of rain to deal with what's going on for tomorrow.
Yes, indeed, quite a change from what we saw over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and October certainly looks like it's going out with a bang.
It certainly is. You want to look at the F-Gen? Shall we look at the F-Gen?
Yeah, but a lot of the F-Gen, a lot of the Omega, as I mentioned yesterday morning, seems to be putting a lot of the energy out just to the east, out over the ocean, and not necessarily right over us. Although it does do some interesting spirals, if you will, or spinning. One particular spiral kind of spinning and trying to curve back toward the mainland after being out over the ocean.
Yeah, I pulled up the 850 F-Gen, and there's like a little concentration there in North Jersey and over Long Island. But yeah, you see the ocean low, or the F-Gen with the ocean low is way out, and then it just tries to sort of pivot back there into southeastern New England and eastern Long Island. Yeah, pretty interesting. And also ahead of that, you saw the F-Gen with the warm front this morning across southern New England through upstate New York along I-90, running up into New Hampshire and Vermont, and then kind of weakening as it went up further north from there. So, and let me show you my 850 here at the end of the week. Let's see. And I think it was +5. +3. Less than +3, Joe. And I'm halfway. I'm halfway up. I'm almost halfway up to 850. It's it's going to get chilly down here in the southeastern part of the United States behind the second system. It'll get a little dry. Going to get a dry push behind the first one and a cooler push, and then get rather chilly here when that big upper low goes by.
Sure is weird. Kind of an upside down fall so far for us, for me and for you.
Yes. All right. Let's really quick. I just want to touch really quick. I want to pull up the polar vortex up in the stratosphere because I've been watching this on every run just to make sure it keeps doing what it's doing for the winter weather lovers. And of course, the polar vortex, the way it's been behaving is pinned up near Siberia. And by the way, I spoke with Bill Goodman today. We were talking about the Siberian snow cover, and it is the snow cover growth in Siberia has been subpar, as well as we know that it's been subpar across North America. So in spite of the fact that the polar vortex is where it is, it's cold, but they're not getting a lot of snow. They're getting cold, but they're not getting a lot of snow. The polar vortex is going to pivot around, and let's see if it does the drop southeastward into Canada. And indeed, it is, Joe. Look at this. Whoa! Look at that. That gets pretty far south here in 2 weeks. Almost up into northeastern Canada. That's quite a change. I mean, just going from this to this. Now, if this verifies, this last map frame here is November the 10th. So it would suggest if you want to give it, usually there's a couple of weeks of lag time. And then there's the question is, are the changes upstairs going to be coupling with what's going on downstairs? That takes us to, past the second half of, into the, well into the second half of November. But it does indicate that if this does verify that the latter part of November is going to be is going to be certainly colder than what we're seeing now.
I would agree, Joe. I would absolutely agree 100%. We're going to see, I think we'll see a big flip coming our way as we get into all those folks. And I know not a few of you, the way things have been so far, may have already thrown the towel in on winter, saying that's it. It's all over, said and done, or whatever. I think you're going to see a remarkable change coming as we move through the next 2 or 3 weeks, especially from what these maps are suggesting for Canada. I mean, that is quite a change. That big bubble, that big ridge that has been sitting over Canada and keeping things mild, relatively speaking.
Yeah, here's the here's the big ridge right in here. There's your ridge, and here's your polar vortex, right there.
Right. Yeah. So let's watch next couple of weeks. We'll be seeing that big ridge, that big high deflate, so to speak, and be replaced by the vortex as it edges on down or pushes on down, almost like the ball in Times Square at midnight, Joe.
By the way,
it's not coming down.
Watch the loop, because because I drew the way it is now, okay, and then you see how you could see the difference in terms of the orientation of the trough and what the whole vortex does. It crosses the North Pole and goes down into north central, northeastern Canada. That's a huge radical change.
It really slides on down, doesn't it? Well, we'll be looking forward to. Anybody want to write to? Anybody should write to Drew Carey or see if we can use that. Get the copyright. There's no copyright infringement. That music truly would indeed be perfect for what is about to happen. It would appear over the next 2 or 3 weeks in the upper atmosphere.
The chairman, Scott Briller, hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Scott. He says November snowfall in New York City as measured in the park. There have been 12 Novembers with at least 3 inches in Central Park, and 8 8 of 12, I think, because there's a slash line between the 1 and the 2, so I'm not sure. So 3 inches in Central Park, 8 of those 12 winters had above normal snowfall. So unlike the October indicator, which is usually a bad sign, the November indicator might be a better sign. Which sort of makes sense.
You should point out, Joe, that last November, I believe, was either near or record-breaking warmth in the month of November.
And it was. And then we had a big flip, and December we went into that cold stretch of a few weeks, and we got a nice sizable snowfall out of it before we went to 70 and thunderstorms on Christmas Eve. And they had half a foot of snow down here, and then they had half a foot of snow down here in northeastern Georgia. A few people were telling me about it, said it was one of the prettiest things they've ever seen here Christmas Eve, that because of the snow covering everything, just made an absolute a scene of a lifetime, because the odds of a white Christmas down here, even though it is in the mountains, it does happen on occasion, but not very often.
That's true. And by the way, the executive producer, upon hearing the state of my voice, very quickly whipped up a nice big glass of warm, a mug of warm tea. You like what the what it says here, Joe?
Hold on, I can't
No.
see it. Oh, no, you can't have a sip. Gotcha.
So there you go.
Just really, really quick. I'm going to come back to the GFS just real quick, so we could just talk a little, just briefly, because the first storms. I have this. People who know me know I have this policy that when there's two storms on the map and that are going to be occurring over a short period of time, where both storms are important, you really talk about the first one that's underway, and then you wait for that to play out before you start getting involved with the second one, because if you're paying attention to too much stuff, especially when you're forecasting, it can be very easy for you to wind up getting confused. I got my head. Most of my head has been focused on everything that's going on for tonight and tomorrow, that I really didn't give a solid look to the end of the week. So but I just want to at least give maybe a cursory view here of what to expect go down the road. So, and by the way, we do have enhanced severe weather risk for tomorrow ahead of the second storm, which Storm Prediction Center, I'll bring that map up. But for tomorrow, excuse me, we have enhanced risk in north central Texas.
You want a sip of my tea, Joe?
No, I don't. But thank you for offering. North central Texas, central Oklahoma, into south central Kansas, a big area of slight risk that nudges up into Nebraska. And then that's for tomorrow into Wednesday. And then Wednesday into Thursday, we have a slight risk in southeast Texas, most of Louisiana, and southernmost Mississippi, just touching Alabama. And then I don't know, day 4 through 8 time frame is predictability too low. All right, let me get just back to the GFS here so we can just take a look at this second system. So as the first one pulls out, you start to see the energy with the second one. There's a low, an 89 low. It's definitely a low pressure map here across the United States. Got an 89 low in southern Nebraska. You fire up those the thunderstorms Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and then again Wednesday into Thursday. The low is western Kentucky. It actually is near St. Louis, and you can see there's this arm. There's a long occlusion almost that runs from that low down to off the through Florida. And you actually even see a frontal passage in the state of Florida out of this. And then that low goes into southern Ohio and just kind of rotates. It's just spirals around and eventually finds its way somehow with a center well off the Virginia coast, but very weak. Because remember, at this point, the upper low has reached its peak intensity and is starting to open up. But we do get a fairly solid shot of rain that moves up the coast for Friday into Friday night. And then the upper low is lingering on Saturday. We may have to wait till Sunday to see, or maybe even Monday, to see some genuine improvement. And then chilly air starts to spread out of Canada in the longer range. And here comes a cold front middle of next week, and then a secondary front behind that. And lo and behold, a 534 thickness, Joe, down through central New Jersey by next Friday, with a chilly high coming down over the Great Lakes. So there's your cold shot.
You say next Friday, that's a week from Friday, you mean?
A week from Friday. I'm sorry, a week from Friday.
Right.
So we'll pay more attention to the one at the end of the week after we get through tomorrow. So bottom line is get ready for some hefty rainfalls. If you're in southeastern New England, eastern Long Island, some stronger winds. There'll be some gusting gales along gusting gale force along the immediate coast. A little breezy inland, but not winds should not be a big deal. It's good. Rain is going to be front and center with flash flood watches up, and that's another thing I should do too. Just real fast here. Let's just do the watches and warnings really quick, and then we'll come back. But we got flash flood watches for all of New Jersey except the three southwestern counties, northeastern Pennsylvania, up into the Catskills in south central New York, the lower Hudson Valley, all of Connecticut, central and eastern Massachusetts. You got high wind warnings and wind advisories up for southeastern New England. Out in you can see the severe thunderstorm watch that's still up for parts of Virginia. We've got some high wind warnings up in Montana with the second energy moving into the Rockies there, with some winter weather advisories and also some high wind warnings for parts of southwest Utah, southern Wyoming, south central Wyoming, and then even down into parts of New Mexico. We're seeing some wind advisories and high wind warnings, as well as in parts of southern California. And we still have winter storm warnings that are up for the Sierra Nevada mountains. So I think I have, I forgot to put the map back up on the screen. My apologies, but you get the idea. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, we know. I forgot. I'm not going to bring them up again. My fault. You'll see them tomorrow. Okay. So let's do a quick Briller Jeopardy here somewhere. Hold on a second. I know I have it. Jason Barry, if I forgot to mention that you hit Super Chat earlier, Jason Barry hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you very much. The chairman hitting it, that I know I remember doing, and Robert Russo hitting it earlier as a repeat. Okay, so here we go. Johnny Quest lives in the mountains of Virginia at an elevation of 3,000 feet, Joe Rayo. The questions
Yes.
the questions relate to how high and low temperatures for the month in Johnny Quest's hometown. So you have to get these within 8, okay, for credit. So for the month of November, what is Johnny Quest's highest and lowest temperatures that he's ever seen? In the
And
month of
he's in
the
month of November.
He's in the mountains of northwestern Virginia, about 3,000 feet up.
Well, I used to do the weather. No, that's southwestern Virginia. I used to do the weather for a radio station in Richlands, Virginia. But this is northwestern Virginia, so it's a little bit higher, more to the north than what Richlands was. The highest temperature ever that he has seen in November?
Yes.
Is that what I'm getting into?
Yes.
All right. Well, how about the highest temperature ever in November? How about 58 degrees?
No, it's a little higher than that, 69. And what was the lowest he's ever seen in the month of November?
Oh God, Joe. I mean, I've been in the Poconos when it was 11 degrees above zero.
I was on Long Island in '89, the morning after Thanksgiving, when it was 11 above, with an
right,
8-inch snow cover, and then it got to 50 in the afternoon.
How about? Well, we could say, why don't we say 11 degrees?
Nope, the answer is 2 above zero.
Woo!
Now let's go to the month of December. Highest and lowest.
Well. Let's go with the lowest first. How about -10?
Oh, very good, Joe. -9.
Okay, so we have that settled on. And 69 was the highest in November. What could be possibly the highest in December? You know what? I really don't think it could be much lower than. How about 60?
Very good. 62. 62. Now let's go to January. This ought to be interesting.
Oh.
The highest and lowest temperatures in January.
Oh dear. Highest temperature in January. How about 54?
Very good. 59. 59, the highest. Now the lowest.
All right. Well, I know that around here we used to see in January, not in New York City proper, but in outlying areas like 15 and 20 below zero. So I'll take a whack at it. How about minus 17?
Fortunately, that is not within the margin of error. Minus 28.
Wow.
Amazing, isn't it? Now, here's
Wow.
here's the bonus question, Joe. What was the all-time high and low in the county where Johnny Quest lives? Within 8 for credit. The all-time high.
Oh, the all-time.
And the
all-time high.
And the all-time low.
Okay. The all-time high
in his county. Now, remember, the county might have various heights. Not everybody. The whole county's not 3,000 above sea level.
I understand. I know. Gallipolis, Ohio, which is in not really all that far away, I think, from where Johnny is. The highest they ever saw was like 109 degrees. And so he's located 3,000 feet above sea level, 3.5, 9,
right.
10,
But this is in the whole county, so there might be lower elevations involved, or even higher elevations involved.
Right. I'm going to take a wild guess and say the highest in the county was, dare I say, triple digits? Yeah, why not? I'll say 101 for the all-time high.
If you'd have said 102, you would have been within 8. 110 at Balcony Falls, Virginia. 110. Now the lowest.
Wow.
I'll give you. I should have given you the hint. Balcony Falls is 725 feet above sea level. Now the lowest temperature was recorded 3,900 feet above sea level.
Okay.
In his county.
What did we say the record? What did we say the record was for January?
Where Johnny was at minus 28.
Minus 28. All right. How about minus 31?
Minus 35. If you use the lapse rate, you would have gotten it very close, because you subtract 5 degrees, you would have gone from 28 to 33, and it's minus 35 at Mountain Lake, Virginia, 3,900 feet above sea level. Yeah, it's amazing. Wow. People don't realize there's a lot of mountain country in the Mid-Atlantic and in the Southeast, and certainly from the numbers that I've been posting here and telling you about it, since I've already beaten you to 40, to 35, and down to 33, it gets cold here at night. Even right now, when we were in a sort of a warmish air mass, this morning I was down to 44, which kind of surprised me. And I remember yesterday watching the weather on one of the Atlanta stations, which, by the way, not a shred of context. Gorgeous outfits, but not a shred of context. The temperatures here were a solid, 7, 8 degrees cooler than they were in Atlanta, and those were cooler than what you see in southern Georgia. So there's a big climate change here from south to north, and a lot of terrain change too. So you go from flat.
I would believe it.
Yeah, I mean, because South Georgia is like Florida; it's just basically flat. And then you start to climb, and you get to Atlanta. Atlanta's about 800 feet above sea level. Then you climb even more, and you get to where I am, where I'm about 2,200 feet, and I'm surrounded by, peaks at 4,000 or 5,000 feet up. So I can't really. I'm excited to be here during the heart of the winter. I'll be very curious to see what happened. And I saw it last winter. I missed December last winter, but when I was down here in January and part of February, I did get to see the snow on all the mountaintops, and that actually looks it's quite scenic and quite nice. So,
does anybody live higher than you? I mean, you mentioned 4,000 and 5,000 foot.
Oh yeah. I went to a friend's house who's they were about 1,000 feet up from where I am, and the road to go up, the road to get there, okay, you're hanging on for dear life. It's a two-way street that barely has a room enough for one vehicle, you know. And then all of a sudden you see a UPS truck coming in the opposite direction, and you have to find a spot to pull over. And you know, you can edge ever so close to the side of the hill, and you're looking straight down. You know, it was not fun. But yeah, there are people that live way up, way up.
Pretty amazing. Pretty
Yep.
amazing.
Yep. All right, let's call it a night. Joe and I will be back tomorrow. Thanks to the super chat hits tonight: Robert Russo, Jason Barry, Scott Briller, the chairman, and I think that's it. Yeah, 2 hits by the chairman, by the way. 2 super chat hits from the chairman, Jason Barry and Robert Russo. 129 likes. Thank you for those of you who have hit the like button. It's not too late to do so. So please, if you like the show, do that. And also you can subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll get notifications when Joe and I do the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is usually, believe it or not, it's 5 days a week. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. And the phone number is 631-756-1125 for the best prices in the New York City tri-state area and beyond for rock salt, which is in short supply. Get it now, because come the first snowstorm, a lot of people aren't going to be, you're going to have a tougher time finding it. And decorate your home or have your home decorated with wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. 631-957-5106 is the phone number there. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. So good to see that you're feeling better. We'll be back tomorrow night. Nighty night, everybody.
See you tomorrow, folks.